The sun is up on day 5. I've just collected my eggs and we have some odd jobs to get done today. Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Seasons in the Valley. So before we do anything else, let's check the state of our animals. You can see we do have an extra sheep again. We're back up to 40 and their health is definitely improving. They're back up to 61% now. So the damage that we inadvertently inflicted on them has started to repair itself. That's good to see. They are running a little low on water, so perhaps we could top up their water levels again today. One thing I also want to do is just quickly get the Lely Juno restarted. Let's get that line looking nice and straight. There we go. There is my halfway point. Get that started. Excellent, so we're not wasting any grass from out of here. You can see we're onto our second pallet of wool now. That's good to see. Still got a couple of bales up here. We don't need any more food in there for a little while. Yeah, I think we might need to do some more water. And I kind of like the idea of perhaps adding in an extra couple of greenhouses as well. We have these two, and we've got this large open space that we're just not doing anything with. I'm wondering if maybe we add in an extra couple up here. Take a look at our field here. You can see this is actually starting to grow. I think we could probably spray this today. Does it need it? Let's see. No, 100% fertilise, so it doesn't need fertilising. It just, of course, most of our fields are now at 100%, so we don't need to do anything to them. You can see the canola that we inherited on field 50 in the background now in its final growth stage there. How close is this? This is 67%, so still a little way to go before we can actually harvest the barley here. And you can see those green shoots kind of in the bottom there. So what can we get done today? Well, let's see. We take a look at our mini map. Here's our growth chart, so you can see we're into the final sort of growth phase here on this field, and we're in the final growth phase here as well, I believe. Now we planted yesterday, we planted some corn just there, and we also planted some corn here as well. Interestingly enough, I think these fields are actually already starting to grow, so we might possibly need to fertilise these two fields. And we'll take a drive down and see whether or not we need to weed this grass as well. So let's go jump into our T6. We'll hook up to the tedder and see if we can actually get those meadows up and running a little bit. There we go. I'm going to put a weight on the front as well, just to give us a little bit of extra balance. Just use the small weight. There we go. So let's cut our way through the forest. I do feel we are missing a trick with this wide open area up here. Obviously when we first started this farm we stuck a silo in there, but then it quickly became kind of obvious that we didn't really need a silo there, so we took it down. We moved the wood chip storage over to the sawmill, which just seemed like a much more natural place for it to be. And we haven't really done anything with that space since then. Obviously we put those greenhouses in very early on, and again we've not done anything with the area since. Cutting our way through these bushes here, and it looks as though this still hasn't started growing. That's interesting. So let's scan this field, and you can see, look, it's not started growing at all, has it? 0% growth. There should be something by now, surely. Starting to wonder if maybe we've kind of made a mistake with this grass. If it hasn't grown by tomorrow, we could potentially have some real issues with those meadows, in which case I'm not quite sure what to do with them. Might have to replant them and then just write them off for this year. I hope that's not the case. And I'm also going to quickly just scan our poplar field as well. I want to see where we sit with the poplars. See if we can get an idea as to how long it's going to take for those to grow, whether we'll be able to attack those this year or whether we'll have to wait till the beginning of next year for that. I really hope it's the former. So let's scan the poplars. And we're at 50% growth already. Ah, that's quite encouraging. So maybe we will have this to do sort of towards the end of this year. We'll be able to actually get in here and attack all this. You can see that some of these areas just here, look, I actually used up to double plant the end bits there. And there are little, you know, patches on the end here where the worker just wouldn't go all the way to the very end of the field, but you know, I'm not too worried about that. I mean, it looks good. I think we're going to get quite a lot of wood chips off this field, and I do kind of like that road effect that we can see. I think it does look pretty good, pretty awesome. So yeah, definitely looking forward to when we can attack this later in the year. So where else can we check? Well, I want to check up here because it looks as though these might be in their first stage of growth. I mean, this is the shade, the very, very light, almost pea green shade here is what it looks like when you first plant something, and this is a darker shade. This is the first stage of growth, so that to me suggests that maybe we're already at the first stage of growth with our root crops, which I wasn't expecting to be the case so quickly. So we'll drive over there. We've got the weeder attached. Now I normally spray things, but for the first growth stage we can use a weeder as well, so if they are ready to be fertilised, then we'll run the weeder on them and get them up to that extra stage. So our crop field should be coming into view any second, just beyond those trees that you can see there. And yes, I can see shoots on the ground already, so they have grown to their first stage by the look of it. And there we go. You can see, oops, I dropped the weight again, that first bit of growth on our potato field here. So it'll be the same for the beets as well, because they were planted the same day, and you can just see, look, the texture does show the shoots popping through. So let's get this field fertilised, then we'll run across and do the other field as well. And then I think all of the sort of main kind of prep work that we need to get done for today will be done. So we'll be straight on to some woodwork, I think, for the rest of the day. Chopping down some trees and selling the lumber for cash. There doesn't appear to be much else for us to do. Like I said, we lost a day at the start of spring, and I was kind of worried that our jobs might stack up a little bit, but despite the fact that it looks on the mini-map like we have a huge number of fields, we actually don't, really. I mean, these 4 fields here are actually 2 not that big fields. The 3 fields that we have as 44, 45, 46 is just 1 field, and it's a decent sized field. 24 and 25, again, that's 1 field. 63 and 92 is 1 field. 52 and 51 is 1 field. It's not that many fields. So although at first glance it does look like maybe we have a lot of fields and no time to work them, there are actually not that many fields in total. Need to slow down cruise control so we don't get those sudden bursts of acceleration every time I lift the weeder. There we go. Where are my wheels lined up? Well, not perfect, as you can see. We're kind of driving on the ridged areas when we should be driving in the troughs kind of between them. I've always thought the potato texture for this is a little bit strange, because there are times when it looks as though those light brown areas are actual ridged blocks, which is how they are in reality, and then you've got sort of the dark lines are the bits between them where you're back sort of at the level of the field, and then you look at it in a different way and it just looks like you've got these brown lumps that are the raised bits between the shoots, and that the shoots are at ground level. It's a very strange kind of optical confusion, I think, with this potato texture, and it's not at all like the really nice 3D textures that pure farming offer. It's always thrown me, these potato textures. Never quite sure exactly what it was I was looking at until I actually saw potato farming in real life. I say in real life, real life operational fields of potatoes, on YouTube is probably a more accurate way to describe that. And you could see what was supposed to be the raised areas and what was supposed to be the troughs, and yeah, it just looked very different like this. It really does. This just it's not convincing at all for me. I say more often than not, my brain interprets that as the really dark brown to almost sort of black lines as the raised ridges, which is completely the opposite to the effect that it's supposed to be generating. There's supposed to be sort of shadows between the ridges, and it doesn't work, not properly, not for me, and certainly not up close. But we will be using the Roper Kyler 2 to harvest this field. Now that's probably going to take us quite some time, because it has only got a 2 meter working width, and it's not particularly big. Now we have the option of getting the Grimmer self-propelled harvester, and maybe leasing one of those, but to lease one of those is going to be horrifically expensive. I mean, the piece of equipment itself is around 450,000, I believe. Very expensive indeed. So the lease costs on that, we're probably talking over 30,000. Now we can have a look in just a second. I'll get this field finished and then we'll check out kind of like the leasing prices. Now the Kyler 2 from Roper is, I think, about 120,000 to buy, so lease costs probably going to be somewhere in the region of 10 to 15,000 plus another couple of thousand per hour as well. And it's going to take us a good couple of hours to harvest this field with only a 2 meter working width, but it'll be substantially cheaper than purchasing or leasing the Grimmer, I think it's a Tecton, is that what it's called, the Tecton? And it's just nice to use the new DLC, I think. It certainly looks awesome when it's all unfolded and the machinery is running, and I'm really curious and keen to try it out in operation, see if it's easy-ish to use or if it's actually quite awkward and cumbersome. It could go either way. And of course, in a couple of days' time, speaking of potatoes, you'll be hopefully seeing my Big Bud Farm Potato Challenge. I've been trying to get my episodes recorded early this week so that I can have the time to attack that challenge. I'm going to need to put aside at least 30 hours, I think, and I can't do anything else while that's open. Now, I can suspend the game and I can pause it and suspend my console overnight, put it into standby mode, so I don't have to worry about just leaving the game up and running permanently. But I can't run another game. I can't run my editing program, Share Factory. You can't save mid-contract and then pick up where you left off. I tried that once before and it just kind of screws everything up. I got 8 hours, I think, into a 12-hour plough mission, and I was tired, and I meant to put the game into standby mode, and instead I saved it and closed it. And when I reloaded the next day, the contract was gone. Half the field was, or 2/3 of the field was ploughed, the other half wasn't. It was very strange, and no money in my account. So I kind of sat there and I ploughed for 8 hours straight, got tired, shut the game off for the night, woke up the next morning, and I'd wasted essentially 8 hours. So I can't do that with the potato harvest challenge on Big Bud. I have to keep the game open and running from start to conclusion. So I need a good 30 hours, maybe even more than that. So my biggest worry is that as I'm recording this now, it's what day is it today? It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday evening as I'm recording this, and this is Friday's episode of Seasons in the Valley. And tomorrow I'll be recording Saturday's episode of Fent Farm. And then after that, if I need to do any more little bits of recording for Pure Farming, I'll get those done. I recorded another few episodes today for that, so I'm going to get all that editing kind of done tonight, and then do some more editing tomorrow, and that leaves me Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and possibly part of Sunday if I need to do any more sort of for gameplay and recording and editing purposes. Now my biggest concern is I'm going to start this job, and within a few hours after I started the job, a map is going to get released, because we know that Fichtelberg and Old Slovenian Farm are both in testing right now, as of today. As I say, today is Tuesday evening, so earlier today when the testing thread was updated, both Fichtelberg and Old Slovenian Farm are both still in testing. Now if they get released tomorrow for me, so if they get released Wednesday, which was a couple of days ago by now, then I'll be able to do those map tours and get them done up on the channel, no problem at all. They get released Thursday, maybe able to get them done. They get released on Friday, no chance. You're not going to get a map tour until Monday at the or Sunday at the earliest, So I'm really hoping that if those maps are going to drop this week, that they drop tomorrow, so I can actually get those tours done and recorded. Otherwise I'm just not going to have the time to do the 30-hour challenge and then get Big Bud Farm out for Sunday. So what I may possibly do instead is I may switch the episodes around a little bit and do an episode of Seasons in the Valley on Sunday, and then do Big Bud Farm, release that on Monday, because then that gives me time to do an extra episode of Seasons probably tomorrow, Wednesday, get that recorded, and then have that set by to go live on Sunday instead of Big Bud Farm. Do Big Bud Farm on Monday, then go back to Fent Farm, and just switch those 2 days around, the Sunday and the Monday, and that way I can start the Big Bud Farm challenge Friday night, go through to Saturday and Sunday, and between those 2 days and part of Monday I should be able to get that episode out. So I may play about with the schedule a little bit over the next few days, just to make sure that I'm covered over the weekend. Over the weekend I can play, and in the sort of the build up to the weekend, if those mods do go live, I can get those map tours done and recorded and out for you guys. Because like I say, once I start doing that challenge, that's it for me for a couple of days. I can't do anything else until that challenge is done, and it's going to take me at least, I would say, 30 hours to get that challenge done. It provides 48 hours for you to get that job done, and it generally takes a little over half the time, half to 2/3 of the time provided to get a contract mission done if you're using standard equipment. So yeah, I think it's going to take me at least 30 hours to get that job done, based on that kind of experience that I've had on Big Bud Farm doing contract work. So just one final pass left here on the beet field, and then from here I don't think there is anything else that we can do today other than logging. I don't think there are any other jobs that we need to get done. We could look at maybe bringing in some cows, but yeah, we're still several days away from being able to get straw. Plus we don't have any grass, we just have hay and silage, so we could kind of give them a kind of TMR mix-ish kind of thing. But actually, yeah, I suppose we have got straw, haven't we? Yeah, we could bring some cows in, I think. If the price is good enough, we could maybe look at getting some cows set up today. So, okay, so we're finished here. Let's fold up, and while that's doing that, let's check. What's the predicted price for cows today? What's that looking like? A little pricey. We're not too far from the animal dealership, so that's just over there. So let's make our way over there and have a quick check and see exactly how much stuff is going to cost us. Because the supplies we've got will certainly last now long enough for us to get some cows in and set up. I mean, summer is kind of, in some ways, it's the worst time to buy your cows because you'll get the cheapest price, but you'll get the lowest return on your milk. Let's take this road here. Go around the side. I think this is the right road that I need to take, if I've remembered correctly. This should bring me out alongside the slaughterhouse. I think that's it there, on the other side of that tree. See, we're just driving into the sort of northeastern part of Villeneuve here, and I'm pretty sure that is the slaughterhouse there. Yeah, it is. So we just head around this corner. There we go. And let's just check how much it's going to cost us to actually buy cows today. Ooh, 5,249. That is quite pricey. So we're looking at ideally waiting till midsummer. There's going to be a big drop in price over the next couple of days. So yeah, we'll hold off. It's a little early, I think, for us to buy those cows. They're just going to, keep dropping in price every day now, so we'll hold off. We'll check again tomorrow. If the price is a little bit more palatable tomorrow, then we'll probably go ahead and make the purchase. But as things stand right now, just a little bit too pricey for my taste, a little bit too rich for my blood. So yeah, we'll hold off, and we'll readdress the cow situation tomorrow. So all that's left for me to do now really is to take this back to the farm, get everything cleaned, put away. We'll pick up our rumbler, we'll drive over to the sawmill, and we'll look at getting some logging done, I think. Okay, so here we are back at the sawmill. Now I'm going to make a couple of changes around here because we're going to do a slightly different logging operation this year. Now I'm not entirely sure the full length of these things here, but I think these are 6 meter kind of long stands. So what I'm actually going to do this year is I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. I'm going to try and get in here with a scorpion. So we're going to remove a couple of log stands. I'm going to get rid of this one here for starters. We don't need this one anymore. So let's go into our equipment list. We are going to have to dip into our loan again, but we are going to be making some money, so we'll be able to kind of recoup the investment, or recoup the loan costs. See, we've got a lot of gear, haven't we? So this is the one that I want to get rid of. Get 3,000 and change back for that. How many have I got here? 1, 2, 3. I'll hang on to those for now. We may even end up buying another one of those back again. But how much do I need to get a Scorpion in on lease? It's going to cost me 12.5 grand base cost, then another 12.5 grand per hour, and then a per day of 2.5. So 28 grand essentially to lease one for a day, with an additional 12.5 grand per additional hour. That's quite pricey. So we're looking at 40 grand essentially to have this for 2 hours, which is probably what I'm going to need it for. But I'm going to get in and I'm going to cut a load of logs, and I'm looking at 6-meter lengths, I think. Try and get some nice good uniform bits of wood that are going to be much easier for us to handle when it comes to selling the wood, and also hopefully more profitable. And especially if we decide to do any wood chipping, it'll be a lot easier that way as well. So let's see. I need to, as I say, dip into the loan once again. So 28 is what I need to cover the cost of hiring it, and then any additional costs will automatically come out. Yeah, let's lease one of these. I'm not going to bother with tracks. This will be fine as is. So let's lease. There we go. And we'll make our way up to the store and collect that, and then bring it in here and start hacking up some of these trees as quickly as we can. Okay, so here we are with the Scorpion arriving back into the sawmill and into the forest area. Now, time is precious with this thing. It is very big and expensive to lease, and we certainly can't afford to buy one. You know, that money that we could use to buy one is going to be spent on a forage harvester rather than one of these. So what I need to do is be very kind of effective with how I'm using this thing. So first thing I need to do is change the cut length. Now I think 6 meters is the length is going to be best for us. So what I need to do is very quickly chop this tree at 6 meters. And now chop it again here at 5 meters. And chop it once more at 8 meters. Ah, well, that wasn't quite 8 meters, but the reason I'm doing this is turn the engine off so we're not using up any time on the lease. I'm going to use the log grab for our skid steer. So I can now kind of test fit each of those logs on the frames that we have and see what is the ideal length that'll fit for us. And then once we've kind of figured that out, we'll sell the other pieces. So this is 6 meters. And let's see how we do with a 6 meter length on one of the frames. Oh, and look at that. Not enough clearance. So 6 meters I thought would have been really good profitability wise. It won't actually fit on here. That's slightly disconcerting. So we need to basically sell everything that we've just cut. Because it's too small. It won't fit on the stands. We can't save that wood. So I'm going to grab each of these pieces. We've got, what, 1470 for that one there. It's not bad. We'll sell off each of these individual bits, and then we'll cut another tree, and we'll do that at 8 meters, and hopefully 8 meters will fit quite nicely on there. Now the the top of the tree that we had left isn't quite 8 meters. I think it's probably about 7, and it's a thin spindly bit, so it's not really an ideal test piece. But the rest of the trees should be good. You can see how thick this piece is compared to the one we've just sold. This was 6 meters as well. Let's see what the difference is in value over a thick base piece over the sort of the next length up the tree. An extra 300. Look at that. Just for being a little bit thicker, we got an extra 300 euros for that piece. So let's clear these next couple of bits out of the way. In fact, we might be able to sell these both at the same time. God, I look almost like a reindeer or something there with antlers just sticking up. Maybe I should start calling my skid steer Rudy. There we go. Now, can I... No, I thought I could carry both bits. Let's try that again. Maybe if I do the skinny bit first. Alright, now if I'm careful, should be able to get rid of both of these pieces at once. Yeah, because last time we were just cutting the trees down and then cutting them in half basically on the stands, and that was how we were splitting them up. This time I want to do things a little bit differently. And we've made an extra, what, 1100 there, so that's not too bad. Or just under 1100. So we made 14, 17 and a half, so 32. We made about 43,000, 43,000 for that tree. Sorry, 4,300 for that tree, not 43,000. 43,000 a tree would be awesome. So, cut length is 8 meters. I need to get up this hill as quickly as possible. I say time is money with this thing. We need to be cutting down the second that we get this thing in this thing, really. Any just faffing around like this is wasted money. So let's cut there. Just pivot out the way. Oh, and that's 1 meter. No, I pressed the wrong button. Right, there we go. That's 8 meters. The tree's pivoting out of control. Alright, so just shake myself free. Engine off. I was kind of hoping those bits would roll their way down the hill, but obviously not far enough up. We're going to end up basically creating some stacks of logs that we're then going to need to be transported from where we cut them onto the stands, assuming that they fit the stands. If they don't fit the stands, then I'm going to have to rethink my entire thought process for this. Let's grab an 8 meter long piece and do a size check. There we go. So this should now, whoop, easy, this should fit right nicely on here. Oh, and it does, look at that, that's beautiful. So 8 meters gives us enough clearance that it doesn't literally hang on the very, very edges. So if I release this piece here, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. So we'll get 2 big, nice 8 meter long stacks on each side of this. And then obviously that gap in the middle where we can't really put anything But we'll start cutting down a load of trees at 8 meter long lengths. We'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big piles of 8 meter long lengths, and then anything small that gets left over we can kind of just sell off. And what I'm probably going to do as well is I'm only going to stack the big thick pieces. So obviously that thin spindly bit that we had left from the top of the tree, which you can just see coming into shot right now here, these bits we'll just throw away or chip, one of the two. If I say throw away, we'll just sell these straight away. No point in keeping those. So bit of a shame we actually lost a meter of really good wood off the bottom of our tree there, but we've got another nice good piece there and another nice decent piece there. So let me start to build a little log stack. Any sort of reject pieces we can throw down the hill, and then we can sell those today and stack the rest of the wood once we're done. Let's make it through without catching that tree. Yes. And if I can get this kind of lined up, I can at least make the start of a stack. Yeah, it's close enough. Right, let's move this out of the way now. There we go. Time for us to do some rapid fire tree cutting, I think. Start with this one just here. So there's only 2 of the 3 pieces there that will actually stack, and the other piece will get sold. And I'm going to have to do this all the way through with each of these trees. Create these little stacks and then weed out the thin pieces that aren't worth keeping. So it's going to be a slow process when it comes to actually sorting and stacking the wood, but everything else should be nicely streamlined. So we've got 0 hours still on the clock. We're in that first 6-minute window still. So plenty of time for me to cut down a load of trees here. And the more I can get cut in the first hour, then the more likely it is that I can just ditch this after an hour and not have to lease it for a second one. So I'm going to go and start cutting down a huge number of trees, as many as I can in the next hour, getting everything kind of stacked semi-neatly all throughout this forest, and then we'll have a nice good stack of wood for later in the year and a few bits of scraps that we can sell to recoup the money we've invested in actually leasing this thing. So we are nearly halfway through our least first hour, and as you can see, I'm just cutting down as many trees as I possibly can. We don't have to process all of these today, but as many as we can get processed would be good. I'm not making the log piles too big because you get too many logs in one place. You start to get some issues with lag, so putting like 3 or 4 trees down per section depending on the size of the trees. Some of them have only been getting me 1 or 2 pieces of wood. Some of them have been giving me 3 or 4 or even 5 pieces of wood, depending on the size of the tree. And I've just been dumping a small number of trees per pile. As you can see, we've got quite a few sort of felled trees dotted all around the area. I'm working within that pathway. You may remember when we were doing some logging last summer, we were talking about clearing out. If I open up the map quickly, we were talking about clearing out this section in here, inside this part of the path, and that's the area that I'm working within. I'm not going to go outside the path. That is kind of like the boundary area. I'm not going to clear the whole thing, I don't think, but I'm going to get close. If I can continue logging at this rate, and that'll give us a really good stash of wood for us to sort of work our way through whenever we need a little bit of cash. We can either sell some, or we can chip some, or a combination of both. And of course, I do want to kind of save the big pieces and get rid of like the small, thin, spindly bits over sort of the next few days. So whenever we're a little short on work to do, and given that most of our sort of prep work is done, and we're just waiting for crops to grow now. That could be quite a bit over the rest of the summer, if I'm honest. Then it gives us quite a bit of wood to play about with. So I'm going to carry on working away like this, chopping up more wood, building more log piles, and then when we get to point 9, I am going to return this. There's no need for us to go into a second hour. We're going to have more than enough material to play about with. Into the final sort of 10 minutes or so of use of this thing before I have to give it up. 0.7 hours. I'm going to tick over to 0.8 soon, and then 0.9, and I have to make sure I'm done using this before 0.9 ticks over to to 1.0, because then that's another 27 grand, 28 grand. Was it that much, or was it 16? It was a lot. No, 12.5, yeah. So I haven't got a huge amount of time left, but I've cut down a lot of trees, as you can see. So I'm going to have a huge amount of wood to kind of process and sort out. Quite a lot of these are thin bits that need to be weeded out from the stuff that's going to be saved. You can see we've got log piles all over the place now. Some of them quite big as well. So not much time left to go, but I am going to keep just cutting down these trees as fast as I can, because as I say, once we hit 0.9, that's pretty much it. That's all she wrote for this. This is it, the final tree. There we go. Jump out quickly before I get charged. So we're just going to auto return this in just a second, but you can kind of see, if we survey just how much I've chopped down in that hour of usage. It's quite a lot. Log piles absolutely everywhere, so we're going to have a nice good supply of wood to work with, and now I'm going to use the rest of this afternoon to start stacking and sorting out these bits of wood. So right now I'm running through each of these stacks, finding any piece of wood that is light enough for me to carry, which means it's not going to be worth much when it comes to selling. If I can pick up a log that's 8 meters, then it's not exactly what you would call heavy, which means it's not worth any money. So I've been going through each of these stacks, just picking up the bits that I can actually carry. They're the ones that we're going to sell. Anything I can't carry that's too heavy, they're the bits that we're going to store for selling later in the year. So you can see this piece here, although it's a thin end piece, it's actually a little bit too heavy for me to carry, so that one stays. This one here, let's try this one. Yep, see, I can move this one, so this one goes in the discard pile, and we'll scoop all of these up at the end and sell these off in the sell box, raise a little bit of cash, hopefully enough to cover the cost of leasing that scorpion. But at the very least, you know, you can see we're building up a nice little discard pile here. It means that all the wood that we are going to put on these stands is actually going to be worth A, money, or B, quite a lot of wood chips. So I'm going to carry on doing this, and then once that's done, I'll start loading all the logs individually onto the stands. So this is the first little collection of logs. There we go, just little bits. Not going to get huge money for any of these pieces, but we're going to have a lot of them to sell, so it's going to add up pretty quickly. You can see I've got a big pile just there, and I've got another few piles kind of dotted around as I made my way through all of those stacks. It's a lot of thin bits that were easy enough for me to just pick up and carry. You see I've got a few more bits here kind of scattered. And all of these just here. And there's another pile over there. And obviously the big one down at the bottom of the hill. All of these are going to be tiny little bits for us to try and get in there and sell. See how many of these I can grab per time. And then see if I can push the rest a little bit closer. So yeah, time to raise a little bit of funds, and then after that all that remains is the cleanup and the stacking of what we have left. I think this is the last of the logs. There we go. So up to 27 grand. That's not too bad. That's not far off the cost of actually leasing out the scorpion. We paid, what, 28, just under. And we had about 5 grand when we started selling. Actually, no. We had about 20. We had about you know, just a few hundred euros, and then we cut down that one tree and we made, you know, a few grand from that. And now we're up to 27, so we've almost completely covered the cost of leasing the scorpion. I think we're literally just a few hundred short, but I've got rid of all of those kind of individual pieces now, as you can see. I don't think there's any left. I think I've scooped them all up, so all that's left now is wood for me to actually kind of get stacked. So I'm going to start stacking that and get it all piled up nicely on the log stands, ready for later in the year. There's not much else that needs to be done, and it's just kind of counting down until tomorrow, and we'll readdress our crop and cow situation tomorrow. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with another episode of Seasons in the Valley very soon.